Hello everyone and welcome back to the first build guide for 3.15 Expedition League. This is your boy Ryan and today we will be looking into the mana stacking COC Ice Nova build with Pathfinder. Before we begin, I have a few things I want to clarify about the build in Showcase. This build that I am showcasing in this video has an investment of total 60 chaos and is running on a 5 link for the COC setup. On such a smallest of investment, do not ever expect to go and clear the whole game. This can clear up to T11 maps extremely fast and can farm as well, but falls really short on DPS when you go upwards of T16 and others, like the Guardian maps, for example. Unfortunately, due to the league being so poor, gears for this build is really hard to come by, and most of the gears that are needed is not even available yet. For now, this will only be a showcase for the low-end budget. For a higher-end version, I will have the POB included in the description and will also tell you what kind of gears you will be looking for. I plan to showcase the high-end version in the standard since I am very poor on currency right now. With very little time to play, I only have just reached the T16 maps on Awakener 5 in League. So if you like this kind of showcase and builds, drop a like on the video and subscribe while you are watching. It's absolutely free and you can always change your mind. And with that said, let's get into the gearing for the build. Okay, now let's go over the gears and gem links real quick. For our weapons, we have 2 Cosprey's Malice Jewel Foil. These are the fundamentals for any cold-based cast on crit builds. For one of the weapons, I went with a Corruption, gain a Frenzy Charge after spending a total of 200 mana. This solves our problem of gaining Frenzy Charges on bosses. Surprisingly, this league Cospreys are really cheap. I bought 2 of these for a total of 12 chaos. I think this one was 5 chaos and this one was like 8 chaos or 7 chaos. I don't remember. But they are really cheap. For our helmet, we are going with Crown of the Inward Eye. We are stacking mana. So since Indigon is no longer usable because of the triggered mana costs of skills go very high and we can't really sustain our mana with flasks anymore. So the best possible outcome after the Indigon will be a Crown of the Inward Eye. For our amulet, we are going with Aziri's Foible, mana regen, and reducing the requirements of equipping all of our gear is really helpful. This is absolutely a beast of a starter. For the anointment, we are going with Depth Perception. I'll go into that a bit later. For our body armor slot, we are going with Cloak of Defiance. As a mana stacking build, we want Mind over Matter for our defenses, so this solves that problem, so we don't have to path toward Mind over Matter manually. This is on a 5 link. For our ring, we have 1 Essence Worm to reserve our aura, one of our big auras that is. For our other ring, we are going with a rare Shaper-based ring with Trigger Assassin's Mark on hit. This is going to be the primary stat that you're looking for on the ring. For a secondary stat, you can look for mana and intelligence. Intelligence will be the highest priority after trigger level 8 Assassin's Mark or Assassin's Mark on hit ring. Other than that, the upgrades, I will list them into POB and I will tell you in a bit. Let me just finish all the gears first. For the gloves, we have Kalisa's Grace. I think this is pretty much the go-to glove still for the mana stacking build. But if you have crit cap through other means possible, this can be easily replaced by a rare glove. For our boots, rare boots, movement speed, lots of resistance, life, mana. And for higher budget, of course, Tailwind, Elusive, and all that good stuff. For our belt, another rare. The Stygian Vice would be best because of a jewel that we can insert. Same as the boots, life on resistance. This was very cheap, like 5 chaos. So I went with it. So if you want to invest into Stygian Vice, they can be really costly. So I just went with the basic options for now. As for prices on the items, already said that 2 Cospreys are like 12 chaos total. Crown of the Inward Eye is 3 chaos. This one is 25 chaos. The cloak unlinked, I linked it myself. The Aziris foible was 10 chaos. Essence Worm is 2 chaos. This ring cost me 5 chaos. The gloves, I think, were 2 chaos as well. The boots, I found them, but I think a boot like these will cost around 10 to 20 chaos. And the belt cost me like 7 chaos. So the total budget of this build is under 100 chaos. For the flasks, mostly are gonna be normal flask, no unique flask except the Wise Oak, and the other unique flask will be the Taste of Hate, but it's so expensive right now that I don't really can say that you should use it. When it gets a bit little down on the price, like 20 chaos or something, then maybe it's gonna be worth it if you're going for a low budget version approach, that is. For the links on the gem, for the first cross spree, you want Frostbolt with GMP and Culling Strike. Make sure that your Frostbolt is on the first cross spree. That way, the trigger order is the spell that trigger on the first weapon triggers first. So you want Frostbolt to trigger first, so that the Ice Novas can be cast on the Frostbolt and not just only around us. For our second cross spree, we have a Ice Nova with power charge on critical strike and added full damage support. This is for the power charge generation as well as extra damage to supplement our 5-link setup. For our helmet slot, we have our individual skills, Arcane Cloak as our guard skill, Flame Dash for movement, Frost Bomb for utility and exposure. For our main links, we have Cyclone with cast on critical strike, and we have, of course, Ice Nova. And linked to that is going to be increased critical damage support and increased critical strike support. For our 6th slot, it's going to be another added cold damage support, preferably a awakened version of that. Other than that, you can use either Hypothermia or Inspiration based on whichever you have. They both will almost add the same amount of damage except for the added awaken added cold damage at level 5, which is gonna be a +1 level for your Ice Nova. I think that did not change yet. For our ring on the Essence Worm, we have Zealotry for our spell crit. For our boot slots, we have our utility skills again, Blood Rage for attack speed and Frenzy Charge generation faster on mapping. We have Herald of Ice for smooth clear on mapping. Make sure you turn off Herald of Ice when you are facing bosses. That way you have more survivability with more mana. On our other aura, we have Precision. Make sure that it's as high as possible. A level 21 Precision will be very nice. For our 4th, it's a free slot that you can use. I think Empower would be good, but Empower is really expensive at the moment. Or other than Empower, you can use a Ice Golem too. These 2 slots are free to use whatever skills you want: Portal, Empower, Enhance, whichever you feel like. For the gloves, we have Vortex linked to Archmage with Bone Chill and Arcane Surge for constant Arcane Surge buff, and we are spending mana through Vortex by manually using it. And spending mana means we are gaining the +2% critical strike chance after spending like 800 mana. So we really have to be quick and spend as much mana as possible within seconds. And this setup of Vortex does that for us. For our Flask setup, we have a Mana Flask. Since the Enduring Mana Flask is dead for mana stacking builds, we are going with the best possible option after that. It's going to be Concentrated Mana Flask, but this is very bad. I mean, not bad. It's just by the quality of life, Enduring Mana Flask is so good, and this is really bad. You have to manually press this flask every time your mana is gone. And this can be really dangerous as well for mapping. If you survive one shot and you forget to press this flask immediately, your mana is gone, your life will be gone too. For our second flask, it's going to be a Diamond Flask. I think Alchemist Diamond Flask is going to be the best for the increased effect. Since Diamond Flask got nerfed really hard, we want as much as Flask effect as possible. And with the build, you probably will never run out of Flask charges, so it's completely okay to use Alchemist version of the Flasks. For our suffix on the diamond flask, I am still working on unveiling flask so I can get the off-order craft that grants us increased critical strike chance during flask effect. That one would be the best for this. For our third flask, we have the Wiso. This is for our capping resistance. This is absolute beast of a flask that caps all of our resistance for free without needing to invest too much into our gears. For our fourth slot, ideally you want a taste of 8, but until you get it, you can use a sulfur flask. Again, alchemist version can be quite good. And our fifth flask will be a quicksilver for mapping, and maybe you swap with a Aziri's Promise for bossing. And so that is going to be it for the gearing sections. For the high budget version, the only things that you are looking for most probably is the ring, the glove, the boot, and the belt. Everything else stays the same, and the amulet changes. This one goes into a higher version of the amulet, will be the Pandemonious for a lot of damage. So for the rings, you want still a shaper based ring with the assassin's mark on hit. You want at least 50 intelligence. You want suffix to be open so you can craft accuracy. And for prefixes, you want life, mana, or either one of that, and then added cold damage to spells, and the shaper mod that says that add cold damage to attackers, or not attacker, but add cold damage to chilled enemies, against chilled enemies, that is. For your gloves, these are pretty much best in slot gloves. You can get a corruption of these, I think. Yeah, attacks have crit chance. That can be nice. Or if you want to replace this with a rare gloves, a culling strike unnerved gloves can be really nice as well. But you have to cap your crit chance from other sources. For your belt, it's gonna be the same: 1 resistance, life, mana, flask effect, and increased damage during flask effects, or mana regeneration rates, and modifiers like this will help. For your ghastly eye jewel, you want life, added damage, and crit multi, or maybe attributes if you are missing on other sources. For your boots, it's going to be simple: tailwind, elusive, onslaught, and then increased effect of cold ailments, and then movement speed. A decent movement speed of 25% should be good enough. For with Quicksilver Flask being really effective on Pathfinder, we are really fast, so a 25% movement speed is good enough. Okay, now let's look at the passive tree and ascendancy real quick. So passive tree will be like this. We start on the Pathfinder node and we grab as many as mana nodes possible on the tree. We get agnostic. Since we are not using Indigon anymore, we have to go to agnostic. Otherwise, we have to replace one of our flasks and get a life flask. Other than that, we want Wind Dancer and acrobatics and phase acrobatics for our defenses. We also want all the crit multi that we can get our hands on over here and over here. We path a long way over the top side of the tree. And shadow area, I went through this area because I have no access to cluster jewel. The pathing is vastly different when you have cluster jewels though. On this side of the tree, we are grabbing accuracy nodes and we are taking depth perception as anointment. If you have a silver oil though, you can get Blade Master, which is a better version of the anointment. For also in the Pathfinder area, we're grabbing Natural Remedies and Careful Conversionist. These two are the new flasks nodes, and they help a lot when sustaining charges for our flasks. Other than that, we are using this slot over here for a Frozen Trail to fire more Frostbolt projectiles and fire them faster. And we are grabbing the Throat Seeker over here for the huge 50% crit multiplier. Remember, now that all the support gems are nerfed, the most damage that you can get out of this build is by getting 100% crit and getting your crit multi as high as possible. This build though will get most probably stuck in T11 if you go with this setup. You will definitely need 2 cluster setups and high-end gears to make this build go into even further in T16 and above, and to clear them comfortably. I am also using 1 cluster. This is like 5 chaos cluster with a spike concoction and distilled perfection for the alchemist genius buff over here. And that is gonna be it for the gear showcase for this build. Unfortunately, with a very cheap investment like this, build can only go up on like T12 and T13 maps at most. Unfortunately, if we still had Indigon interactions left, this could very well be clearing the whole game. But it's unfortunate. But a higher end version of this build I will showcase in the coming weeks. I think I will probably use a standard character to do it, because I have no currency left on my league characters, and the league being really dangerous and hard. It's really hard to get into higher end mappings. Most probably I'll just have to go back to playing some sort of meta builds like Forbidden Rite totems and stuff. This is really a sad day for PoE, to be honest. They wanted build diversity, and people are just playing 3 things like minions, traps, mines, and Forbidden Rite totems. Everything else is kind of dead. Well, with that said, this is gonna be where I end the video. If you enjoyed it, drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps me out a lot, and I get motivated to make more videos and stuff. So I will see you on the next video, probably hopefully with a higher end version of this. Good luck out there, exiles.